Hey Cancer Risings and Cancer Suns, wishing you a happy birthday out there to the Cancer Suns. I am one of you. Happy July. Let's look at what's going on for you guys this month. A lot, because you have the eclipses in your first and seventh house, as well as Mercury dipping out of your first house. Very fun. It looks like June you may have been hiding away from the world. You may have needed to withdraw and kind of just get some much needed R&R, hiding away. People may be like, what have you been up to? Where have you been? You're like, I don't know. Well, now is kind of the time to show them, because the sun is moving through your first house. Woo! You are shining bright. People see you. People notice you. You are out there. You're putting out your personality. You're breaking through old barriers in your self-expression. And especially so because tomorrow on the new moon solar eclipse, July 2nd in Cancer, that's happening in your first house. So it's like a really strong time to shine for you, because your first house is your personality. It is the house of self-expression and how people perceive you, as well as the body. So because it's an eclipse and this is the house of the body, you have to be a little cautious physically if there's any health things that come up for you at this time, to check them out, because first house, the physical vessel, and eclipses can tend to in this first or sixth house, I think tend to kind of bring up any health stuff to the forefront. Definitely get it checked out right away, because under eclipses, health problems escalate fast. Not trying to gloom and doom you here, but it's just really good to be cautious. If you do have any, awareness of something changing in your body, or like something new come up for you and you're like, oh, what's that? Just check it out. So aside from the kind of health aspects here, this new moon solar eclipse is powerful, right? It's potent because a new moon solar eclipse is like a new moon times 3. It's like a really compact, potent new moon. So it's a new narrative around your individuality, around your self-expression, around your personality, and just you as the individual. Your first house is just you. So you're just honoring yourself right now. You are like respecting what you want and need. And this is going to play out over the month in kind of your first house, seventh house dynamics. And what I mean by that is that it's going to be I versus we, or you versus the relationship. It's all about the kind of intermingling of your identity in a partnership or in any kind of intimate one-on-ones. You don't have to be in a relationship to kind of experience this dynamic. But essentially, with all the kind of barriers you're breaking through this month, tomorrow is that eclipse happening in that first house. You're just going to be like, I am so about me right now. And in the seventh house, later on in the month, around July 16th, we have the full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn. Capricorn ruling your seventh house of marriage, partnerships, one-on-ones. Now, lunar eclipses tend to be the kind of emotional counterpart to solar eclipses, whereas solar eclipses are more action, event-oriented. You may have something happen where you're like, or a revelation, or just things that are kind of more physical. Lunar eclipses tend to be more emotionally internal, emotionally reflective. So you may be kind of feeling that around July 16th. And this full moon, full moons are always like culminations of awareness. Like I said, with eclipses, lunations become really potent. So this is going to be like a really big emotional awareness on July 16th in your partnerships. So if you're in a relationship, this can be a point of tension and a point of critical review, because you're going to be feeling like you really see it. You really see the relationship clear as day. And it's going to be like in your face. And if it has good legs to stand on, and if it's meant to kind of live and prosper, it will. But you have to get kind of past this point of tension and emotional awareness, and to kind of access this conversation with the other and talk about your needs versus the relationship's needs, and kind of get through that together, because that's what's going on. So, right, lunar eclipses tend to be pretty emotional, pretty profound. Eclipses in general bring a lot of highly charged energy, big life events, big beginnings, big endings. So if this is a relationship you're thinking of getting out of, or is just really not serving a purpose for you anymore, this eclipse can help you kind of push past that. Or if you're single and you're like feeling somebody, this eclipse can bring them in, like closer. I've started a relationship on a lunar eclipse before, and it's like very, whoa, it's like powerful. You end one relationship for sure and you start another. It's like a pretty clear thing to you all of a sudden. clear as day. So big relationship story, big individual story happening this month. Definitely tune into it, because right now you are all about you, and you gotta be. You gotta recognize your needs. You gotta recognize how you're coming across. You gotta recognize your personality. And is it fitting into your relationship? Are you forcing yourself into a mold via your relationship, or are you actually finding healthy expression? Take a look around and see. Kind of gauge the environment, gauge your feelings. So that's really where the potency is happening this month. And now, of course, we have Mercury retrograde going retrograde on July 7th. And, you know, Mercury will be in your second house, where you'll be thinking about money right now and kind of like, ooh, you know, like, what are my talents, my abilities? What do I value? That's kind of where your thoughts are headed now that you had this like big personality moment. But Mercury will retrograde back into your first house, back into Cancer. So there will be kind of this moment where you're thinking about your self-worth, you're thinking about your self-value, and then it will come back into the first house, and you'll kind of be like, oh, okay, like, you know, really kind of reflecting on the self, reflecting on how you sound, what you're saying, how you're expressing yourself, mercurial things. And it's, you know, Mercury retrograde in a water sign. It's very intuitive, it's insular, introspective, quiet, reflective. Not easy to communicate either. So we're going to have to work really hard to communicate our needs to our partners, and to ourselves, actually, more importantly. Like I said, it's about you. So tune into that and allow that to be present. So that's kind of like, whoa, July, really, really individual versus relationship oriented. And then, of course, at the end of the month, we're bookended by another new moon, but it is not an eclipse to lunation. It'll be just the new moon in Leo, regular old new moon. You know, just new moon times 1 instead of the new moon solar eclipse in Cancer times 3. New moon in Leo on July 31st. That's going to be a whole new story, kind of diving into that self-worth, into that self-value that you were kind of dabbling with right now as Mercury's kind of playing in Leo. You're going to start to develop new values around yourself and your life and your money, how you're spending, paying attention to your money situation. Often our self-worth and self-values get tied up with our money and all this crazy societal stuff. So they can be one or the other. They can be both. They can kind of interchange, kind of just feel it out at the moment. But that's really where the primary action's happening this month. Your self-value, your identity versus the relationship awareness factor, the partnership awareness factor. Is it worth staying in? Is it worth working on? And just staying open to any kind of one-on-ones, even if you're not in a relationship. It could be profound moments in therapy. It could be profound friendships, just exchanges between you and the other. And like, where do I end? Where do you begin? Like, whoa, emotional stuff, man. And like I said, really, since it's first house, please be mindful of the body. Take care of yourself. If some health issue comes up, do not just ignore it and be like, whatever, because it really does tend to escalate, and it can be dangerous, in all honesty. So just be cautious of your body and pay attention, because it is first house, physical vessel. You, all right? Have a great July. Might be a little rocky here and there, but you're breaking through to new barriers. You know, you're breaking down these barriers that you've self-imposed, and you're finding a new voice, finding a new expression. So that's going to be fantastic. All right, Cancers, have a great month.